1994, the world is controlled by one power. The apple is success.
There ain't no pride, there ain't no shame, there ain't no sympathy, there ain't no blame, there ain't no pleasure, there ain't
The
no
apple
pain.
brings you everything.
What about happiness?
Child of love, show me, tell me.
I wanted to release Phoebe from a contract. Cheers. Where is she?
I stand alone. I stand alone. Cry for me.
The apple is the temptation.
Taste it, taste it.
The apple is the experience.
Take the apple. Whoa, praise the apple. Whoa, yeah, 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 yeah.
The apple is the forbidden fruit.
Come and take me and shape me and mold me and make me and fill me up with your fire. Come do anything to me your little heart desires. Ooh, I've never been so high in my life.
Phoebe, I must see you. I gotta talk to you.
The apple takes your soul.
New York out to LA. Everybody does it her way. Pumping power by the hour. Speed. I can feel the earth start quaking when America starts shaking. Pumping power by the hour. Speed. Speed.
Now, a special experience in movie-going entertainment. The apple.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes on the podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at TCTAM Pod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio. With me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello, everyone. And once again, we watched the movie where I, by the end of it, was like, why aren't we writing anything? Like, do we know anybody that needs a tax shelter, Ant, that we can kind of get something off the ground?
Yeah, I feel like the 80s or like the late 70s, early 80s was just so much easier to get something made.
For a split second, I thought, Mark, your bit was going to be you singing the intro or something. I got a little nervous.
Yeah.
Mark's about to do some rock opera shit.
No, I was thinking about opening with telling Ant to basically, was that when I say B or something like that? The call and return in the opening song with the crowd.
BIM.
Yeah.
Bim's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't know, BIM is coming.
Not as intimidating as Omar's coming, but
right.
You know,
it's actually Bim's on the way. Bim's on the way.
Bim's on the way.
It's a little softer. It's a little softer.
Yeah. Not as in your face.
Yeah, it's a little more passive voice. But before we get into this week's movie, we always talk about what we watched this week. So, gentlemen, what did you watch this week? Dan?
I've continued my watching of Columbo. Nothing really new there. Yeah, a lot of fun. Continuing the Columbo-sance. We'll workshop that.
Did you see that one tweet about the guy goes, I almost got away with this murder. I fooled Columbo. He's just got one more question and I'm free.
Yes, yeah, I saw that, and the responses were really good too. And I wish I had that still, but
Yeah, that
everyone's
tweet
talking
basically-
about Columbo now.
Yeah, that tweet essentially sums up the entire plot of most Columbo episodes.
My favorite part of Columbo is my wife yelling at the murderers.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you stop giving him answers, he's not going to solve it. Go, don't lead him to you. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. These people are they just continuously give Columbo the answers. But yeah, so I've been watching that. I also started rewatching Veep on HBO Max before it turns into Discovery. I don't know what's going on there. So I just got nervous and I started to watch Veep. Like, they're taking everything away.
Well, you don't have to worry, Dan. Whatever you have, it's going to be male centric. So.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Whew. Bullet dodge there. So I to me, that's still one of the best HBO shows in the past decade. I love Veep. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is phenomenal. Great cast. If you haven't watched it, please do so. And then the big one is I watched Prey on Hulu.
So did I.
That was fantastic. I don't know about you guys, but I was blown away by it. It was a very good movie.
I liked it a lot. It was really good.
Yep. I don't want to get too much into it, and if you saw it, we could talk about it when you discuss.
We can probably talk about it next week. So I'm probably going to watch it this weekend. So.
Okay, that's totally up to you guys. I'll just say I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark? Watch anything?
Yep, I actually went and saw Bullet Train.
Wow.
In theaters.
Look at you.
Look at me saying I'm going to do something and then do it.
Following through. This is a new Mark Myers.
Hey, Mark's on the way.
Hey, you got to wear your. It doesn't make sense because it would be Mark.
My bin Mark.
Yeah. Anyway,
change your name. Change your name and it'll work.
Change my name. So basically, Bullet Train was fine. Like, it was fun. I probably a solid 7. I would watch it again and all that. The thing that worried me, maybe on second viewing, hopefully it doesn't do this. It leaned a little too much towards Smoking Aces for me.
I think that's the reason why I'm not super into it, because it really feels like one of those mid-2000s, mid-level crime movies, like Smoking Aces. There's another one's Lucky Number Slevin.
Yeah.
Really over, style over substance. Shoot 'em up.
Shoot 'em up. I was thinking of that one.
Yeah. That's
right
where it's feeling for me, and I'm just like, I didn't watch those movies in 2005, so I'm gonna skip this one too.
It's better than Smoking Aces. I can say that as someone that didn't realize Smoking Aces wasn't that good until after I bought the DVD and watched it a couple times. So
Smoking Aces is the one with Jeremy Piven, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Shoot 'em up. I liked. That's with Clive Owen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of the ones Ant mentioned, Shoot 'em up was probably the one I liked the most too.
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one about carrots and stuff, right?
Yeah. What?
He's like eating carrots so he could see better or something.
Yeah, Clive Owen's character's trait is he likes carrots.
Yeah. Yeah. But
mid-2000s. What a weird time.
I'll have to say, is it Aaron Taylor Johnson? I believe is his full name. Him and the character he plays with, they're really good throughout it. Joey King's character has some good moments. They go a little too long on one bit with her that they could have just done once and it would have been great, but they did it way too many times. My favorite part is that Bad Bunny shows up and doesn't really matter spoiler-wise because he's not really that deep into it, but I don't think he speaks a line of dialogue that outside of a phone call in his flashback. It's just he's just there and he just does the stunts and that's it.
Saving it for the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. It was just funny when it came in, but there are a couple good cameos that did get the crowd to laugh in there that are unannounced. They're not even in IMDb. But the reveal, it's in IMDb, so I can't say it's a spoiler, but Michael Shannon plays the big bad and he's pretty good. I wish they had him in there more. The whole story with the 2 Japanese characters that are there, Michael, that whole group should have been more focused, and I think it would have been a better movie. They spent too much time with some characters that just turned out to be side characters on the train. Brad Pitt was good, basically his character just being bad luck throughout it, and just every little thing that happens to him just reinforces that, which I think was the best through line story in the entire movie. But I wouldn't say go to theaters for it. That's the one thing I slightly regret, but I don't regret watching it. If you get my point there. I'll probably check it out when it comes on streaming at some point, just to get a second read of it without a crowd. But it's perfectly fine. I got to eat some movie theater popcorn, so I was happy.
And today I learned Bad Bunny is a Puerto Rican rapper and singer. Okay.
And wrestler.
Okay, sure.
He has a match in WWE, so.
Okay. I guess that makes him a wrestler. He's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame in like 3 years, too.
Well, I mean, Logan Paul.
I would say along with Logan Paul.
Yep. There is a celebrity wing that Drew Carey is in, so Bad Bunny would be a step up in that Hall of Fame.
Hey, Drew Carey's a veteran. Show him some respect.
You're not wrong. I learned that, later in life, that he actually served in the military. Like the least suspecting person that I would imagine would serve in the military.
That's a haircut. That's a haircut you could set your watch to.
It definitely was. He had the high and tight going. It worked. He worked it.
Yep. As for me, all I watched was Prey. That's about it. I was watching a lot of wrestling, old school wrestling Royal Rumbles this past week for God only knows what reason. I don't know. Just did.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah. I saw that it was on YouTube on the WWE channel, so I watched a whole bunch. That's all I watched this week. So we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some ads, and we'll be back in a second. And welcome back. And before we get into this week's movie, we have a little bit of house cleaning. We are coming up on our August movie of the month, and this month I will be away for our August movie of the month episode. So we've kind of figured out the theme built around that. And we are going to go with movies, basically, that I have banned from the show. It's essentially called Anthony Ain't Here Week. So, the one movie we do know we're going to do is Summer Catch.
Summer Catch.
I'm allowing Mark this one time to bring it out of retirement to possibly win. And I don't know. I'm just glad I'm going to miss it if it winds up being it. But we're going to do that. I think Dan is going to pick a Sword and Sandals movie. And then the third movie will be To Be Determined. We're thinking maybe 2000 era comedies. Well, I haven't officially banned those, but those are usually my least favorite movies we cover. But that poll will go up next week if you're listening to this when this episode comes out. Look for that poll next week on our Twitter at TCTAM Pod. That's TCTAM Pod. And vote. We'll give you a whole week to vote. And then the last episode of the month, which will be on August 25th, will be that August Movie of the Month episode. So look forward to that. But before we do that, we're getting to this week's episode. And this week, I believe, was Dan's pick. So, Dan, why don't you introduce this week's movie?
Well, thank you very much. And for this week, it's a guy special. Our good friend and listener of the podcast had been begging me to do this movie for months now, and it just, for one reason or the other, it kept getting pushed back, and finally I relented, and I chose, or I didn't choose, but off of the recommendation of our good friend, I picked The Apple from 1980.
Okay. And where are you coming from with it?
Oh, gee. Oh boy, this movie fucked me up, and not in a good way. I don't know if there's a good way to get fucked. I'm sure there is. But this, from the moment, from frame one, this movie blew my mind. I didn't know where it was going. It had so many twists and turns. I don't know if this movie, it has one foot in the 70s and one foot in the 80s. It was like a precursor to how crazy the 80s was going to get. Like buckle up. Shit's going to get wild in the 80s. Man, this was, I didn't know it was going to be a biblical type of rock opera. Because I thought that's what, like, what was it? Jesus in the multicolor raincoat was, or so? What is that one?
Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah,
Or Jesus Christ Superstar. I don't
Jesus
know
Christ
which one you were
Superstar.
going for.
I was going. I guess I did an amalgamation of both. Those are the only two musicals that have biblical figures that I know of, and now I know the apple. And yeah, this one, guy was telling me, oh, like prepare yourself. This is crazy, and I'm like, it's the apple. How it doesn't sound crazy. It sounds very, very blah. But he was right. This movie is just it's out of control, and only in the 80s could this movie be made.
Sure. Mark, what about you?
Yeah.
Where are you coming from with the apple?
Yeah, so I think I had the right question in the first 5 minutes of watching the movie. I messaged you guys and went, "Did I need to be taking an edible before watching this movie?" Because watching it sober was like, I'm like, wait, what? Who's that guy? Like a bunch of times in this movie, that person completely changed their opinion in a matter of a scene, and there's a bunch of things that I wouldn't have cared about if I was stoned. But yeah, this movie is wild in the weird, in the bad way. In that, I think they had a theme, but they didn't really know how to execute it. Like, obviously, the theme when you see it at the end is, as Dan said, a biblical one. There's God and the devil, and making a deal with the devil, and all those things. The apple. The BB being tempted by the devil with an apple, all that stuff is pretty obvious and in there. But everything about the music part of it, the songs themselves, none of them were really that catchy outside of maybe parts of the opening one, just because it had that really ridiculous line that we keep repeating to each other, which is, Bim is on the way. But yeah, it was just... there seemed to be context mixing, which I believe reading some of the trivia, they did edit out some scenes that would have given a little more context to especially the ending. But yeah, I was completely confused. And just about halfway through, I'm like, I'm just going to ride with this. I'm not even going to try to analyze it or what's going on. I'm just going to see what happens, and then we'll discuss it on the podcast. But there was no keeping up with this movie. So it was nuts.
Yeah, perfect way to explain it. It was nuts. Yeah, I have not seen this movie before. I think one of my least favorite genres is fast becoming the rock opera. I don't know how many good ones there are, and as far as I could tell, the evidence points to zero, except for maybe Rocky Horror Picture Show. This feels like a sequel to Rocky Horror Picture Show in the beginning, as if all of this took place on the planet of Transylvania, with Riff Raff and Magenta returning home, especially in the opening sequence.
Yes.
It's crazy. Yeah. There's really not much more to say than there's a lot going on here. And yeah, there's evil corporations, there's a space Cadillac, God, the devil, Mr. Boogaloo, is the devil. What was that?
Hippies
that come out of nowhere, caves underneath bridges. Yeah. Oof.
People are driving the Homer. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Mr. Boogaloo drives the Homer.
Yeah, he does. Very explicit songs.
Yeah.
With
cutting back that real fast. Are we sure that wasn't a reference to the apple that we are now just getting?
What's that?
The Homer.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think the Simpsons took that from the apple, because there's enough of a difference. And I don't think the apple is big enough for anyone to really...
I could just see someone in their writer's room going, I'm going to put this apple reference in there that nobody but like 3 people in the writer's room will get.
If that's the case, then I feel like we just cracked the code.
Yeah.
And we should get some like free Simpsons merch or something.
We should go to a table reading. That's what I'm hearing.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like the Simpsons, they were too busy referencing things from the 1930s back then.
Right. a lot of Steve Allen jokes.
Yeah.
Like, how could we fit Steve Allen into this episode?
So many Steve Allen shows.
I messaged on Twitter. What's his name? I can't remember. One of the writers, and he's
Al
always
Jean, maybe?
Al Jean, yes, and he's always doing like an AMA on Twitter. And I asked him, "What's with all the Steve Allen jokes?" I never got an answer, but there was like season 4. It's like every episode there's something like cooking with Steve Allen.
Yeah, there's like the ultimate pog with Steve Allen on
Steve
it.
Allen. Yeah. We got to figure 2 things before the year ends, and we only have a few months left. We need to find out if there's a Pizza Hut that still has the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out of their shell soundtrack.
Yes.
And why Steve Allen was so big on The Simpsons.
I don't know. But the apple, yeah. It's sort of like a musical version of Darren Aronofsky's Mother! Exclamation point with the Christian motif. Cause what do you guys think the point of this movie was? I guess is my question.
To side with God and not make a deal with the devil. But I don't think they have that come across at all.
I think it's beware the glitz and glamour of fame, and kind of just hang out with the hippies. You know, like get down and dirty. That's where the true salvation lies, not up in the ivory tower with Mr. Boogaloo.
Yeah. And all those hippies hate television, we learn from.
Yeah. So, like, again, the beginning of this movie gives no inclination that you're in for a trip on the Bible. It's just, it's Eurovision, or how they expect Eurovision to be in 1994, the distant future of 1994. And it's, love music for some reason is out of style.
People hate it.
People hate it. Why? That's never explained. Was that something that happens in the Bible?
They want the BIM song back.
The BIM song. Again, just I will give this movie credit. They had some wild ideas for what 1994 would be. Basically, just everyone dressing up like space people.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of upset that we didn't get. That would have been interesting. Everyone putting rhinestones on their faces and wearing it. It's essentially, they thought everyone would be Elton John.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
It's the future that grunge robbed from us.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Kurt Cobain saw this and said, "Not on my fucking watch."
He's the Jesus in our real life. He died for the sins so that this wouldn't happen.
It puts his suicide in a whole new light. If that ever wound up being the real reason, like imagine Kurt Cobain's there, just like, yeah, someone finally got it.
You did mean to put air quotes around that right there.
Oh, the suicide, yeah. Well,
either way, murder or suicide, he stopped the apple from happening.
And most of the time, when a movie will say the title within the dialogue, it's always like a nice little treat, or you get that Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time pointing at the screen meme going. It just felt really. It didn't feel in place for some reason. Like, I don't know why they called it the apple to begin with. There is an apple in it, but it doesn't. It's not a huge overarching thing there.
Yeah.
I would disagree in terms of the theme of temptation.
Yes. Okay.
I think that plays a large part in this movie.
I was hoping the apple would be more of a presence.
Right.
I guess. Because
you wanted a literal apple.
I wanted something that maybe the apple represented, like, in, again, this overarching theme of the temptation. But, like, maybe the apple is something that it's like the award instead of the fucking triangle, the spike that they get. It's the apple, everyone's vying for this apple. But it's only shown in the one scene, and then it's gone.
It's a big fucking apple, too.
It is a big apple, yeah.
It's a weird one.
I don't know if that means anything.
I think it's much more of obviously, as Ann said, a metaphor than anything.
Yeah.
It's as I just realized at the beginning of my part of this, that BB was Eve throughout it, and that the literal apple temptation was the fame of being a superstar music singer.
Correct.
So...
my one gripe with this movie is everyone sounds like shit. No one has good voices in this movie.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. This is
Thank-
like the understudies get their own
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah, thankfully our beloved from Night of the Comet was not the singing voice of BB.
yeah, they dubbed her over.
Yeah.
Did they dub both of them? It's hard to tell.
That's his voice,
Okay.
from what I can tell. But so in the trivia it says that like basically, she was picked just because of her look,
Mhm.
and they convinced the director that she could sing, and then when they got on set, they realized that she was okay, but she wasn't really a singer.
We made a big mistake.
I didn't I knew going into it that she was the girl from Night of the Comet, but she looks so different without the big
Yeah.
80s hair.
Yeah.
She looks
Yeah,
like she's off of the Partridge Family in this movie.
Yeah, I would not have recognized her at all.
Yeah, I think she's like 19 or 20 in this movie, so makes sense. Catherine Mary Stewart.
Why did they choose 1994? Is it say in the trivia or anything like that?
I think it said something. It was like the future's 1984. So
Okay.
Yeah,
I think in 1980, 1984 was obviously still too close, so they just moved it back 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's essentially it.
Okay.
Some of the themes outside of the biblical ones was also the 1984 the book,
Right.
With the oppressive society and all that stuff.
Yep.
Oh.
BIM.
What does BIM stand for? Do we know?
Boogaloo International Music, something like that. There's a sign on the building, I believe, or
Okay.
in the building.
That's pretty. Yeah. I don't. There was one or two songs, maybe one that I found kind of catchy in this,
Mm-hmm.
but everything else is kind of forgettable.
Which song was catchy? Do you think?
I thought "Speed" was kind of catchy.
Oh, the song about amphetamines.
Yeah, I thought that was catchy. I didn't like the sex song.
The song about coming.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't think that was very good.
It was just aggressively overt, right? It was just like it had nothing to do with subtext. It's literally right there. It's all about talking about coming, making things harder and tighter, and draining you of your love.
I'm trying to. I want to look at the lyrics.
Yeah, it'd make Cardi B blush.
But this was a PG movie, Ant.
Somehow.
Yeah, I mean, in the music, the Village People movie, I forget the name of it all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
It's PG, and they show dick. They show dong.
That's very true.
I can't think of the name of the movie all of a sudden.
Is it no? Not Midnight Only. Holy Apple, Sacred. No, that's the Apple one. I can't find the lyrics for it.
Sacred Apple.
Oh, it's called Coming.
There you go.
The song is literally called Coming.
Yep.
Interesting. Come to me, come do me. I'll come for you. Make it hotter and hotter and faster and faster. They don't say it this way, audience. It's just me reading it. And when you think you can't keep it up, his dick, I'll take you deeper and deeper, tighter and tighter, and drain every drop of your love. Like, that's his semen, I would imagine, right?
So what do you think that song's about?
Tell us on Twitter.
Yeah, right.
At Tom Schuster.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
So here's the speed. America, the land of the free, is shooting up with Coke energy. And every day she has to take more speed. America, the home of the brave, is popping pills to keep up the pace. And every day she cries out for more speed. That's the one I like.
That's straight up, once again, overtly,
Drug
right
use.
there on the page, wearing the heart on its sleeve. It's weird also because they're supposed to be from Canada, BB.
Oh, Moose Jaw, yeah.
And she's singing about America.
And they hate Moose Jaw, apparently. Like at the beginning, like they're from Moose Jaw.
Yeah, they do mention it quite a bit. I was very sad that the lyrics were written by George S. Clinton, but not George Clinton from the Parliament Funkadelic. Very upset about that.
Yeah, do you think that George Clinton is upset that he had to put the S in his name because of the other George Clinton?
I mean, it's George Clinton from Parliament Funkadelic. He'd be honored to share that name, I think.
Do you think it's like the Michael Bolton from Office Space sort of dynamic?
I think it's a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind getting mistaken for George Clinton.
No, that's what you want. They have at one point they have like the BIM hour,
Mm-hmm.
right, where everyone has to stop what they're doing and
Stop doing and dance.
dance. And it made me think, what would like imagine if my parents were doing that in 1994. Like my dad's getting ready to sell somebody a car, and then like, oh, I got to do the BIM hour, and my dad dancing. Everyone dances so well in 1994, by the way.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The firefighters, the police,
Construction workers.
just random old people. They're phenomenal dancers. We were robbed of this. I could have danced. I could have been a great dancer.
You could have been fabulous, but instead you got a cardigan and flannel
Yep. Yeah, that was our future.
and, and clinical depression.
You think people are happy in this 1994?
Oh God, no.
You don't think so?
No, absolutely not.
I guess unless you're part of BIM,
Right.
then I guess you're told to be happy.
Yeah, it's definitely like a servitude sort of thing. I mean, there is an entire song about him being everybody being in his
Ooh,
servitude.
I did not like that song. That
He's
was super racist. That song.
once again overt slavery imagery in that song, like just talking about whipping and him being the
you will be a
master.
slave. Yeah, you will be a slave, and I'm a good master.
Yeah,
Like,
that's how. Yeah,
Why did he say master that weird?
I don't
I
know.
think it's just because he's weird.
How to Be a Master is the name of that song.
Master, you know.
Oh yeah, that made me feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't felt that uncomfortable since being the only white person seeing Black Klansman. Like,
Cultivate their need, grab them by their greed. Slaves are guaranteed when you know how to be a master.
it's not good, not good at all.
No. Lure them into chains, whip them till they're tame. They'll learn to love their pain when you know how to be a master.
Yeah,
Yikes.
that'll do it. Yeah, that'll about do it there. Yeah, I think there were some weird choices here. Like Mr. Boogaloo, he has like henchmen who are like part warthog, I think. I don't
One
know.
of their name is Bulldog.
Bulldog, yeah. And he's got, fangs. Then he has his right-hand man who I don't know what his deal is. They all wear triangles on their heads.
Mm-hmm.
Is this supposed to be? It's almost like a Nazi type of feeling, right? Like very, very like fascist, and
Yeah.
if you don't you don't have your triangle on your head, you're going to jail. It's like if you don't, you don't have your papers.
Yeah. It's corporate fascism.
Is this the second movie in a row where we deal with fascism?
Yeah.
Right.
Food Fight. Yeah.
Food Fight that had fascists in it,
Food
right?
Fight had Nazis,
Wait,
and this
it
one
did?
has Nazis. Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't a song about being a Nazi in this movie.
Right. And
Well, it was being filmed in Germany, so there's a reason they probably couldn't.
yeah, they might have wanted to distance themselves. Oh man,
They didn't feel like getting arrested.
I wish this movie ditched the biblical aspect of it and kind of just went with the whole like drug and fame kind of motif.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's very heavy-handed with the biblical idea. They do the whole Adam and Eve thing, but I just it never fits. It never does well when it's too biblical.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Any movie, unless you're Kirk Cameron, is going to do well. It's never going to be a good thing. I wish it would have just stuck with, these people will do anything. BB and Alfie will do anything to make it. And, she makes it. He doesn't make it for whatever reason. And then she just gets caught up in drugs and alcohol and sex, this, that, and the other thing. And he has to save her from that. But, it's too heavy-handed. That's the big problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's kind of shoehorned a little bit. I mean, obviously there is the temptation aspect of it that kind of fits in, but it doesn't really need to, because what you're talking about, the temptation of greed and then just getting caught up in the fame, the glitz, the glamour is such a relatable and relatable theme and a story that's been played out so many times in so many other movies that it's like, all right, we get it. because this movie's really not that complicated.
No.
It's weird, but it's not complicated. There's, it sort of gets boring to in the middle too. It gets less crazy, and then they had to do the BIM hour, and then it's like, whoa, now this is weird again.
Yeah.
And then the ending is super weird.
Ending. The ending reminded me of Sorcerer.
Sure, yeah.
Right, just something flying out of the sky.
Sorceress, yeah.
Sorceress, yeah. Just totally unannounced.
Yep.
Fucking bananas.
Yes.
And this is probably weirder than Sorceress.
Yeah. So to explain what happens at the end of this movie, because it's worth talking about here. At the end, Alfie, who is our male protagonist, kind of goes to see BB at a party to try and get her out of her contract and basically come back together. And she is drugged during this party, and she tells him to leave and blah, blah, blah. So he goes to retreat into this sort of hippie commune that is in a cave underneath a bridge. And it's being led by a tall, bearded old guy. Looks very much like some sort of godlike figure. Hint, hint. Then she decides that she wants to go be with Alfie, and she winds up going there too. And they spend a year there, and they have a kid, which we don't see. It all just flashes forward, and a year has passed. And then the whole hippie commune gets arrested by the BIM Corporation for not wearing their BIM marks and for harboring a fugitive who was BB. And then Alfie says, out of the blue, as they're getting arrested and rounded up, to something to the effect of, I know he's coming. I just have a feeling. And BB asks who. He says, Mr. Tops. And sure enough, Mr. Tops, also played by the same guy who plays the bearded old man, comes down from his space Cadillac to just say, no, all these hippies are coming with me. And all the hippies walk into the sky and move on to a new planet to start over without Mr. Boogaloo, who in this is the devil in this sort of analogy.
He was like, but you can't survive without me.
And
Right, because it's like good cannot survive without evil, right? And evil without good. I have to admit something. Early on in this movie, I thought Mr. Boogaloo was Dracula because of the way he dresses in like the the old school Dracula garb from like the 30s.
He's got like a cape and everything.
Yeah, the cape, the pendant hanging down. I was like, oh, well, this movie was batshit crazy. So I was like, I guess he's just dressing up as Dracula.
You missed the horn on the side of his head?
When I saw the horn, like the close up, I was like, oh, I get it now. And yeah. And so at one point, when they're getting ready to sign with BIM, Alfie and BB, Alfie has like he has a vision of an earthquake. Is that supposed to be like him descending into hell if he signs?
I think exactly that, because that's the imagery of that, of the song, the Apple song. The Song of the Apple, that whole set piece takes place in hell.
Okay. I'm picking it up slowly, because at first I thought Alfie had superpowers. I was
No,
because he's not being affected by the earthquake. I was like, is he moving the office around? What is he doing? And I was a little slow on the uptake there, but I got there. I got there eventually.
So, The Apple from 1980 is directed by Menahem Golan, who's one of the Golan and Globus from Canon Films. We've covered a few of their movies in the past, including Invasion USA and Over the Top. Stars Catherine Mary Stewart, George Gilmore, Grace Kennedy, Alan Love, Joss Ackland, Vladik Shabel, Ray Shell, Miriam Margolis, and Derek Deadman. Has an IMDb score of 4.3 and a Rotten Tomato score of 27%. Budget $5 million, and I did not see any box office numbers for this. You guys want to get into the plot?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us?
All right, just going to give a quick shout out to our very good friends, Tia and Brittany, and their podcast, The Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast where Tia and Brittany run down their top 10 list of the week. So if that is something that you like, go over to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia. I believe they're also on YouTube if you search Top 10 with Tia. you'll be able to find their past episodes. And make sure to give them a follow on Twitter at TC_Stark and Itty Bitty Brit.
Okay, great. And we're going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to some messages from friends of the podcast, and we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve.
And this is Adam.
And we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast.
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder,
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh, hi, didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into the plot for The Apple. We open on a screaming crowd going to the World Vision Song Festival as a funky band performs a song called BIM.
Very easy festival to remember.
World Vision Song Festival 1994. And this song puts the end of Staying Alive to shame. And what I've learned from this song is that BIM was in fact on the way. Backstage, yep. Mr. Boogaloo.
I was going to say, yep, B-I-M.
Yep, B-I-M. I'm glad I was watching this with subtitles, because I probably wouldn't have gotten what they were saying, which is B-I-M. Backstage, Mr. Boogaloo looks over the ratings of the performance, and he's primed to push the act, known as Pandy and Dandy, to become stars. I don't know if I'd call the song very good, but it's persistent. I'll give it that. And the song scores 150 heartbeats, according to his right-hand man, Shake.
Yeah, we need to start scoring things that way.
Yeah, which I suppose is good.
I don't understand what there was more than 150 people there.
I don't know if it's like the pulse rate of these people. That's what it seemed like. 150 is good. Like, man, these people, their heart's racing. They're pumped. They're primed. BIM.
I don't get it. I don't. That's a weird scoring metric.
It is, but you know what?
I guess cell phones didn't exist, so you couldn't text in.
Yeah.
How much do you love BIM? Right.
Yeah. Well, if you become the executive in charge of World Vision Song Festival, you could really update this.
Yeah, I would bring in my vision and really bring it into the next century.
Right. 2024, the near future.
But oddly enough, I would also not allow love songs into my festival.
Mr. Boogaloo is pretty happy over the score, because he thinks it's a good opportunity to push out some BIM merchandise. More than t-shirts, though. He thinks that's laughable.
I don't understand that either. Everyone wears t-shirts.
Yeah, I guess I get it in terms of like, oh, was your one idea? T-shirts? Like a monkey could have came up with the idea to put BIM on a t-shirt.
I guess that's like a default, right? That's the de facto.
Yeah, it's like, okay, that's a good start. What else you got?
What the guy comes up with is exponentially worse than the t-shirt, by the way.
But it works. It works, though.
It's essentially a vase, is it not?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the BIM mark.
Oh no, the BIM glasses.
Right. Yeah.
And it's really just a tall vase. It's harder to drink from it than anything.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Long for the liquid to get to you, and it's very cumbersome.
Yeah.
I would have just went with the t-shirts, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like there's somewhere in the middle between t-shirt and giant glass.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe like a BIM plush doll or something. I don't know.
Yeah, a hat.
A hat, absolutely.
Neckties, socks.
And it's the 80s. Funny neckties became a big thing in the 80s. So
yeah,
they could have been ahead of the curve there. I was thinking to myself, because you brought up the neckties. This movie has some really good cosplay qualifications in it.
Sure. It'd be like maybe one person in all of New York Comic Con would recognize it.
I think if anyone understood what the costume was, I would drop dead. It was like, there was no way, unless our friend Guy was there. He was literally the only person I would imagine would understand what the costume would be.
Are you Mr. Boogaloo from the Apple?
I would have no choice but to like give that person everything I own, right? You are now you have taken over. You
Yep.
take my house. Here's the deed to my house and everything that lies within it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. That's what it would take.
The next act is a more traditional singer-songwriter duo, BB and Alfie, singing a love song. The crowd initially hates it after the Pandy and Mandy performance, but then they settle down and they start to like it, to the point that it manages to score a 151 on the heartbeat meter.
I'm sorry. This scene was ruined because Shake is trying to comfort Mr. Boogaloo. Like, oh, don't worry, it'll never score over 150. Meanwhile, 151 is on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
It's on there the entire time while he's giving his little like pep talk to him.
Yeah.
So it would have been a little bit more effective if Shake is saying, "Oh, don't worry, Mr. Boogaloo, it'll never score over 150 heartbeats," and then flash to the scoreboard and it just hits 151. And
Yeah.
everyone, like, "Oh no, what do we do?"
Yeah, it's like the makers didn't understand comedic timing.
Exactly. Or just timing.
Yeah. Mr. Boogaloo wants to know who they are, and his assistant Shake tells him that they're just a couple of nobody kids from Moose Jaw, Canada.
Was I have to find out, was Moose Jaw like in the news or something in the late 70s, early 80s? Like,
I don't know.
The director is from Canada.
Okay, so maybe it's a Canadian thing.
That's
making
not
fun
true.
of Moose Jaw.
No. Golan is from Israel.
Yeah, it's not true whatsoever, but it felt right.
He was technically from Palestine, which is now Israel. Tiberias, Palestine.
Oh, that's what that one letterbox entry was. The Israel's entry into Eurovision.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
I mean, I think Moose Jaw is just like, it just kind of describes what you would expect it to be. Like
a podunk.
They named a town Moose Jaw. Like, it can't get more podunk than that.
Yeah, that's like yells middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah. So Mr. Boogaloo is not pleased, so he has Shake play The Red Tape, which sends out a high-pitched alarm over the speakers during BB and Alfie's song, which riles up the crowd and causes their heartbeat score to plummet. Crowd that turns on the performance, and BB runs off the stage upset. And the BIM song wins the competition, and the government adopts the song to be the theme of a national fitness campaign. But one reporter questions whether or not the competition was rigged, and Mr. Boogaloo winds up threatening the reporter's career and job. The BIM crew go to a penthouse to celebrate, while BB and Alfie leave the competition dejected. But BB and Alfie are told that Mr. Boogaloo wants to meet with them. In the penthouse, Mr. Boogaloo talks with BIM's marketing person, and he reveals the BIM mark, new fashion statement that BIM plans to unveil. And it's basically just a sticker that they put on their foreheads. BB and Alfie are brought up to the penthouse. Mr. Boogaloo and his people shower them with backhanded compliments, and immediately they separate BB and Alfie. Alfie gets ushered away by Mr. Boogaloo, while BB gets a tour by a Roger Daltrey wannabe. In the roof garden, great value Roger Daltrey gives BB some pills, and then he kisses her, which the whole party sees. And they sing a duet about how BB was made for the Roger Daltrey your mom said you had at home. And the song ends with another kiss between the two, which Alfie sees, and he grabs BB and they leave.
Everyone is super upset by that too, by the way.
About
all the bystanders, like, oh, he broke up them kissing. Oh, we were about to see them get it on.
Yeah. It was like, oh, they were going to fuck.
They were totally going to get it on, guys.
The next day, BB and Alfie go to the BIM headquarters to talk contracts, but Alfie thinks that they should go talk to a lawyer before they sign anything. Absolutely, they should.
Yep.
But BB thinks this should be the happiest day of their lives. They go in wait in the waiting room for Mr. Boogaloo, which is also filled with a bunch of clowns and mimes and a variety of other acts. And Mr. Boogaloo shows up to sing a song about show business in 1994, and the entire BIM company joins him, including the incredible shrinking man and Shape.
Was that the line reading, right?
Yes.
Incredible Shrinking Man. Okay.
The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Yes. Immediately I knew what you were talking about.
What was the name of the ballet? Was it
I did not write it down.
something 2000? Like, definitely something someone would have named in 1994. That might have been the one thing they got correct.
Mm-hmm.
Was that naming anything that's supposed to be futuristic in 1994? Just put the year 2K or 2000 on it.
Right. Yeah.
Alfie's an idiot, by the way, because
yeah.
he's sitting down and he asks a random man if he's a clown, and there's a literal clown like right behind him. Why would you not ask the clown if he's the clown?
And there's feather boas everywhere in this scene.
Yes,
So
they spent a lot of that budget on feather boas.
The song ends and another act gets called to see Mr. Boogaloo, and BB and Alfie have to continue to wait. Eventually they're brought into Mr. Boogaloo's, who immediately shoves contracts in each of their faces, individual contracts specifically. Alfie wants to read the contracts to get a lawyer, but Mr. Boogaloo and his team says they have already had their whole career kicking off. They're going to meet with the fashion designer, they're going to talk to the press, and start a national tour as early as next week. They really need to sign the contracts immediately. BB is quick to sign, and Alfie imagines an earthquake that no one else seems to notice. And he goes to sign, and then he imagines the world getting darker, and then we transition to a set piece that is not so subtle hellscape, with Mr. Boogaloo looking like the devil. And Alfie and BB are dressed like Adam and Eve, and Mr. Boogaloo offers them his special hors d'oeuvre, a giant apple. And then Wish.com Roger Daltrey pops up to sing a song about the apple, and also vampires at one point.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, they do mention vampires in this song. And
Are vampires in the Bible?
Yeah, towards the back somewhere.
There is a dragon in the Bible, so why not vampires, right?
Yep. After the song, Alfie slams the unsigned contract on Mr. Boogaloo's desk and storms out. BB tries to go after him, but Pandy and Dandy stop her, telling her that she's part of the Bim family now. We have a song about how much Mr. Boogaloo knows how to be a controlling executive as they put BB through the standard star-making makeover. And he just basically says everybody's his slave, but he's a good slave master, so they like him. Weird song.
He's one of the good ones, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's one of the good ones. Yeah. Subtlety is not this movie's forte.
I wonder if that's what they thought to themselves, being heavy-handed would be working to their advantage instead of being subtle.
Yeah, I guess do you have room in a rock opera to be subtle?
I don't know.
You might not. I don't know. I've never had to write a rock opera.
Right.
But I feel like if you want the time to stop everything and sing a song, I guess there is an advantage of being as heavy-handed as they are in this. But these songs are very heavy-handed in terms of what the songs are about. Like, we've already talked about that.
I feel like Tommy wasn't very heavy-handed. Because that's more of a story about a blind kid, playing pinball, this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah,
but
I guess that's true. Like the wall is thick with messages, but it's not like obvious.
Right. They don't beat you over the head with it.
Well, they beat you over the head, but they don't come right out and say, like it's thick with the messages and like the metaphors. But in terms of like being, this is exactly what this is about. They're a little bit less on that.
I guess they think you're smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah. But this movie is direct to the point. It's like, I'm an evil man song.
Yeah.
You shouldn't like me.
Right.
I'm the bad guy, fellas.
Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of winking and nudging going on in this movie.
Yeah. If he had sung Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, it would have been less obvious.
Right. Right. Sympathy for the devil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when I read the trivia thing that this movie was booed about halfway through at the Montreal Film Festival, I was like, it can't be that bad. And then I got about halfway through the movie, I was like, I would have booed much earlier.
I was going to say only halfway?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that has a sad ending to it. That the director
took
it really, really hard.
Yeah. Said he was going to jump out his hotel window, but his business partner stopped him.
There's definitely something, and obviously this whole podcast is about, breaking down these movies, and I mean, people still worked hard on it, obviously. The director didn't try to make these people usually don't try to make bad movies, but
It's definitely a vision.
yeah, absolutely. And again, I just think this is a movie that really only works slightly in 1980, because the 70s was still, there were still remnants of like the free love and like hippies were still a big thing. 80s, you're moving away from hippies. Yeah, that's not really hippies are not really a big part of the zeitgeist anymore. So that's what I mean. Like, it had a foot in the 70s, and then in the 80s, you're getting more of that like synth sound in the 80s. So if they had just kind of picked, I mean, again, it's only 1980, so it hadn't really had a chance to, I guess, figure out its identity yet.
Yeah.
It maybe if this is 1984, 1985, it leans more into the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. The 70s hadn't ended yet, really.
Yeah, it was brand new. It was a brand new decade, essentially.
Yeah. Reagan wasn't even president yet.
Right. He couldn't ruin everything just yet.
You mean Reagan?
Reagan.
Exactly.
Do you think he saw this movie and liked it? Probably not, right?
No, absolutely not.
Well, the reason why I think maybe is because, listen, this is a very Christian-centric type of movie, right?
I think he got one look at Shake and just walked out of the theater.
Yep. We'll leave it there.
Probably. And I mean, there's a lot of promiscuous sex going on, so he wasn't a big fan of that.
Yeah, but Nancy was like, "Hey, it's like my own stopping grounds."
She really dug.
She loved the Coming song.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man,
the throat goat herself.
I was debating on whether or not I should say that. Like, I don't know if this is appropriate, but since we're going with it.
Well, she's dead now. It's fine.
Yeah, she can't defend herself.
Yeah.
The best time to pick on someone.
Yeah, it's a long walk from hell to take us to task for what we're saying about Nancy Reagan right now.
Absolutely.
After the song, they speak with reporters, and it's obvious BB has now given all decisions in the hands of Mr. Boogaloo, who tells the reporters that BB is married to the BIM. Then BB sings a song about amphetamines during her North American tour back in New York. Yeah, I'll say that. An older woman gets stopped in the street by a cop who writes her a ticket for not wearing a BIM mark, which has now become obligatory.
And she is one of those actresses that you've seen in everything.
Is she?
Yeah. I just recognized her when I looked it up because she was in Romeo plus Juliet.
Okay.
She plays the nurse in that, and maybe that's where I got it from. But she just feels like she's been in everything.
She reminds me of is that like Stallone's mom who winds up in a few things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
like Rosemary Stallone or something. Maybe I'm just making that up, but I don't know why I'm stopping to look up Stallone's mom right now. Jackie Stallone, that's definitely not her. I'm thinking of somebody else. Oof, Jackie Stallone, not looking great.
Jeez.
I mean, for a normal human being, like she's had a lot of work done and none of it particularly good.
Some people it's not for them.
No. Sorry, I clicked away from my notes real quick. The woman winds up being Alfie's landlady, who wakes him up and tells him he needs to pay her the money he owes her by the end of the week. He says he's got a new song that he's going to sell and he'll have the money. So he plays the song called Where Has Love Gone? And he plays it for some record execs, and they reject it, telling him it's not what they are in the market for, him learning nothing from the world song competition.
I wish, love songs, it's not a scandalous type of music that's getting rejected. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if he were playing like hard rock music, wouldn't that make more sense? Like, because that's against the establishment. Love music is not against the establishment.
I think it's more just like, I think it's more about like the environment in which 1994 now is, where something that's overly sentimental is not in vogue. It's like emotions and love is now passé in favor of, sex, drugs, and glam rock and corporations, really. So I think it's more the message behind it that is important
And not just the music.
not just the music. It's more like, yeah. So it like the humanizing aspect of having a love song, of part of like the human condition and the human experience of love is now like, no, we don't need that. We need songs about corporate allegiance to the BIM. That's
right.
what, you know.
I just remembered at the beginning where Alfie and BB are singing their love song together, their duet, and like a bunch of the guys are like, "What the hell is this? This sucks." And the women are crying, like, "Oh, this is so beautiful." And then you could kind of see in real time the guys thinking, "This might actually help me get laid."
Sure, yeah.
This music is awesome.
Then Alfie goes to the park and mope and gets a ticket for not wearing a BIM mark. Then an announcement comes over in the loudspeakers all over the city announcing that it's 1 minute to BIM hour. Then everyone must stop what they're doing, even in the most extreme cases, and dance for a full hour to the BIM song.
My favorite part of the movie, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, this is where probably the only parts of the comedy work of it is, some of the different scenes, the firefighters, the doctor. They even do a bit where the guy on the operating table gets up and does a couple moves and then falls back down.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
It kind of reminds me of the Ferris Bueller scene at the parade when everybody's dancing.
Yeah. I just
people walking down the steps dancing.
Yeah, it's really great. I like that part of musicals where it's something out of the ordinary that will just break down into song and dance, but not too out of the ordinary, I guess, because you would see, I guess you could see that in a parade, people are dancing. That's good. I like that. But if you're in like high school and then all of a sudden everybody in the school starts dancing, like it kind of takes me out. But for this movie, I guess because it's corporate, like you said, Ant, corporate allegiance, and it's like drilled into your head, it makes more sense here.
Yeah.
That because again, it's like it's fascism, right? Like they would, if you don't do it, you're going to jail or something bad. We're gonna make you disappear. So that makes more sense. I like it here. Whereas in, High School Musical, everybody's a great dancer, and just like random people are coming through dancing and doing whatever. It makes more sense in this aspect.
Right. So, they play the song, or at least the chorus, about 1,000 times, and everyone all over the place is just singing and dancing. After BIM hour, Alfie goes to see BB at the concert venue, and he can't get close to her because of a cheery crowd that mobs her for autographs. But he's able to call out to her, and she sees him before she's ushered into a car by her handlers, and Alfie and Dandy get into a fist fight before the car drives off, and the bodyguards rough up Alfie, and the BIM crew all leave him on the ground. BB goes back to the penthouse and locks herself in the bedroom as she sings a love song to Alfie, Cry For Me, and then it becomes a duet as Alfie sings from his apartment. He passes out in his bed and he wakes up to his landlady trying to wake him up. She thinks that he tried to kill himself. We have no evidence that he did that I know of. To the point that
because she had to break in, as you were going to say. So, and she probably found like all the alcohol, laying around. Yeah,
she makes an assumption at the very least.
Yeah, and just to let the audience know out there, this lady was one of the professors in the Harry Potter movie. That is probably where I've seen her before.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She also gets fondled in this movie.
Yes.
Against her will, I'm imagining.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Doesn't he grabs her?
Yeah, he grabs a handful of her chest.
They needed an intimacy coordinator.
Both hands, by the way, not just one.
Don't tell Sean Bean.
Yeah, right. This is how natural lovers react.
Sometimes you just gotta acknowledge when like life and the world has passed you by.
Yep.
This movie has a lot of things that don't make sense, but that might be the number one thing that makes the most not sense, I guess.
What? Him grabbing her?
Yeah. Why?
I don't even remember what his point was and all of that, to be honest with you. Yeah. I forgot it happened.
Yeah, she tells him to go get BB because BB needs her. And then he just, I don't know if he has a line of dialogue and then sneaks up behind her and just boom, there it's just getting a handful.
Yep.
I don't know what he says before that, but yeah, he goes in and it's done as in a boys will be boys type of, like, she just
Mhm.
laughs it off, you know? Like, what was the point of him doing that?
I do not know.
That's not a very Jesus-like thing to do.
Nope. Maybe between the ages of 18 and 30. That was a
You know,
Jesus thing.
we don't know what he does. It's never said, right?
That's true.
He's quote unquote wandering the desert. Yeah, I bet. Getting a handful of titty. We had to admit that. We can't put that in the Bible, John.
I think you're also amalgamating Jesus and Moses.
Oh, no, Jesus does wander.
Does he
for a
wander
while.
too?
Yeah. Yeah, he disappears for a big chunk of his life.
I know he disappears. I didn't realize that it was just the old wander in the desert thing again.
Yeah,
That they
he
just
does-
brought
he
up
does-
in Moses.
Yeah, I believe he does the desert thing for 40 days, and that's essentially what Lent is. I
Hey, what-
believe.
What else could you wander back then? There was nowhere else to go.
Is it?
Either-
No, isn't. What is Lent?
Oh, he gives up something. Grabbing titties.
What is Lent and why we celebrate it?
That's what he gives up. I'm telling you right now. He gives up grabbing people.
I think it's avoiding the temptation of the devil in the desert.
Yes,
Why would you-
in real that I think that's what it is. It's not grabbing women.
Well, that could have been the temptation. You don't know.
It's true.
But this is after his 13 years that we don't know
Yes,
about.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. I wasn't saying that was part of the
Yeah.
the Nixon tape era of Jesus' life.
Right. Yeah. I'm saying I wasn't sure if Nixon tape era. Well, that's a good way to describe it. What they just said. Oh yeah, Jesus. He was in the desert for 12 years.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
I who knows what he's doing, right?
I hope he got laid.
Well, I mean, there's Mary.
Let's turn this into a religious podcast. It depends on which books you read.
Right. Yeah.
I only read the Dead Sea Scrolls. So.
You're one of those guys, huh?
Yeah.
Sticking your nose up at the rest of us.
I also
Like,
dabble. I
yeah.
also dabble in the John Smith scrolls as well.
Just like Haley Duff.
Yep. I can't wait for that conversation.
So the landlady feeds him some chicken soup and convinces him that if he wants to win BB back, he needs to go and fight for her. And then he grabs some tit. Like Jesus would, apparently. Alfie goes to Bim and walks into a party where Shake invites him and Pandy takes him over to the bar. She orders him her special drink, quote unquote, and he sees the reporter that accused Mr. Boogaloo of rigging the competition in the beginning, and he now works for Mr. Boogaloo because he bought the newspaper.
Does not sound like a certain bald-headed man in our current society.
Mm-hmm. Lots of bald-headed men in our society, but yeah, a few
well.
billionaires. Mr. Boogaloo appears and Alfie says he wants BB released from her contract, but Mr. Boogaloo doesn't budge. Alfie starts to get double vision, so then Pandy helps him look for BB, quote unquote. Then she sings a song about how that is about as explicitly sexual as WAP. And here are a few of the choice lyrics. Come to me, I come for you. Make it harder and harder, faster and faster. And when you think you can't keep it up, I'll make it deeper, deeper, tighter and tighter.
I'm going to play this song the next time Jen and I,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good instruction manual.
Definitely. And I think that's the problem I've been having, so now I kind of have a better understanding of what to do here.
Right. Sometimes you play a video game without the instruction manual and it's kind of hard to figure it out.
Right. Yeah, you get stuck and you finish because you're frustrated, right? You're
Right,
like, I can't
exactly.
keep doing this. So
Yeah. And you forget to feel her coming. She's coming for you. Coming for you.
Right.
Feel me coming. I'm coming just for you.
The
The name of the song is Coming.
Yeah. I'll never forget. It was like my first job, and then you could edit this out of the podcast if you deem it necessary. But I was getting ready to go to my prom in high school, and I was working at a restaurant, and one of the older waiters pulled me aside and told me, "Remember, it's back and forth, not up and down." And for some reason, that stuck with me. Do you get it?
I do.
Okay. So for some reason, that's always just been a big part of like that caused a wrinkle in my brain that I'll never forget. And it was really creepy because obviously I was like, 18 at the time, 17, 18. And this guy was like 30 in his 30s telling me, don't forget, back and forth, not up and down.
Yeah. He's probably working that job because there are young girls waitressing there. And
Absolutely. There was some untowards things happening. And that's why this place isn't in business anymore.
Thank God. And then after that song about coming, they fuck, which sounds backwards, but that's how it happened. Alfie breaks away and then stumbles from room to room looking for BB, and he finds her in bed with Dandy, but she says she doesn't know who he is, so she tells him to get out. Then Alfie wakes up on a park bench with a large bearded man with a whole bunch of kids with him. Man brings him over to a bunch of refugees from the 60s, which is a new thing in this movie. Back at the penthouse, BB wakes up and Shake tells her that everyone is down at the sauna. It says sauna really weird. Pandy comes over and BB says that she had the strangest dream about Alfie coming to the party, but Pandy tells her that he was there last night and she was a real jerk to him. Pandy tells her that she should go to Alfie because he still loves her. Shake tells them both to go back to their rooms, and Pandy tells them that she's getting BB out of there. Shake
Why
really
does
has no
Pandy
pull.
care?
I guess she feels like she's too far. Pandy herself is too far gone. She's too deep into this BIM nonsense, and there's no one out there that loves her. But BB's got something on the outside, and she's still early in her BIM.
I'm sorry to
life.
interrupt. So did Alfie like bang some sense into Pandy?
It sounds like it. Yeah, he fucked her real good.
He showed her the way with his magical dong.
He dicked her down, and that's what happens.
That's what he banged the BIM out of her.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine being able to bang someone out of a cult. Like that's like an amazing feat of sexual prowess.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably, he plays the guitar. He's probably good with his hands.
True. That's a good point. And he definitely would put that on display, I would imagine, when he was younger.
Dexterous fingers.
But you know what the problem there is? There was no Wonderwall to play.
Yeah.
So he couldn't show off.
Maybe he played her his love song that they hated.
It didn't get him any. It probably didn't help him when he was younger playing those songs.
Well, it got him BB.
Yeah, you know what? I meant to go back to this. We don't know their past. We don't know if they're lovers. We don't know if they're brother and sister. We don't really know much about them.
They say they're boyfriend and girlfriend at one point.
Okay. And
she says he's my boyfriend when he slams down the contract and leaves, and they try and stop her. She says, "But he's my boyfriend."
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
The chemistry is not really there, right?
No, not really.
Right, because when they're saying, "Oh, you got to go back and get her. She loves you," I didn't get that sense that she loved him. I got more that she only wanted to be famous and would do anything it took.
Mm-hmm. Typical women, right?
Yeah, that's how I felt.
No, because it is weird that it never he sees her kiss Roger Daltrey, fake Roger Daltrey,
right?
And it doesn't really come up in the party. It's the first time, but it never becomes an issue.
Yeah, he's upset that she kisses dime store Roger Daltrey, but doesn't really give her any guff about it.
Right. He pulls her out of the party, but then it's never brought up again.
Yeah. So, come on, man. Stand your ground, dude. Defend yourself. That's why she left you. He's not even going to fight for me. I'm making out with, this second-rate singer.
Back at the park, the police break up the refugee gathering as the park closes to the public before 7 a.m. The old man tells Alfie to find them in a cave below the bridge. Pandy manages to get BB out of the penthouse, and Pandy gets smacked by Shape for her efforts. And then Pandy and BB have a duet as BB goes to the apartment to see Alfie. The landlady says he grabbed his stuff and left early in the morning to go live with the bums under the bridge. She goes there and runs into the old man, who says he believes he knows who she is looking for, and brings her to Alfie, among a bunch of people that hate children. Is that true? I wrote that down.
I don't know.
Wait, who hates children?
I think I mean that people that hate television. That that didn't have. I don't remember them hating children.
Well, there's a lot of things that happen from this point forward. They're like, wait, did they ever mention that before?
Right.
Well, the good thing about those people who don't like television is their genitals are not withered and useless at this point.
Exactly. Well, I'll be damned. And then Alfie and Bibi embrace, and then a year goes by, and the hippies all have a gathering in the park that gets broken up by a BIM police force that surrounds all of them. Mr. Boogaloo shows up with his lawyers demanding Bibi to be arrested because she owes the BIM Corporation $10 million. The old man and Alfie refuse to give up Bibi, so they arrest the entire group of hippies. As they are getting walked off, Alfie says that he knows that Mr. Tops is going to come. Then seconds later... Okay?
I was just saying this is unreal.
And then seconds later, the ethereal Cadillac shows up in the sky, and out steps Mr. Tops, played by Joss Ackland, who also played the old man. Comes down from the sky and tells Mr. Boogaloo that he's had it with him, tells all the hippies to come with him. So everyone just walks off into the sky, and Mr. Tops tells Mr. Boogaloo that they're going to find a new world to live without him. And that's it. That's the end of the apple. They all walk off into space.
That Cadillac has a lot of space in it. Fitting all those people.
I think there is some like discussion that I saw on different things. Is it whether that's a Cadillac or a Rolls Royce that he comes on?
I do not know cars. I just picked Cadillac.
Yeah,
could be a Rolls Royce. I did see a hood and an ornament that would fit more on a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, because somebody I forget where I saw it, mentions that would fit very much in a late 80s, late 70s, early 80s, with that being like the car that a really, really like, I guess, rich person would drive. So
what's the point? God's not supposed to care about material things.
Yeah, he should have showed up in a Yugo. All right. Is that even out in 1980?
I have no idea what was around then, right? Like a Chevy or whatever.
An F-150.
An F-150, yeah.
Ooh, good American car.
Exactly. It's like, what? Who thought that was the ending they needed to go with?
Yeah, there was something in the trivia too that they accidentally showed somebody at a screening recent, like in the 90s or something. Another version of it where he just appears and doesn't even come out of the car. Like,
wait, so the car shows up and he just appears?
No, that doesn't even happen.
Oh, okay.
The hippie guy who's played by the same actor, just like something like there's a flash and then he becomes Mr. Tops.
Okay, that would have been better in my opinion, right?
But not as memorable.
Yeah, that's true though, because this ending will definitely stick with me for all time as well. In the movies that we've watched, this is a top 5 ending.
It's a really bizarre.
It's so bizarre, and
yeah, that's why I completely agree with that one person on Letterboxd that was like, I think about this movie every day for my entire fucking life.
That's the reason why.
Yeah, there are so many points in this movie where you could seemingly, I could see myself in a few years popping out of my bed and go, wait, why did that happen?
Oh boy, yeah, this was
just in the shower. Hey.
Yeah,
Bim's on the way.
That song lasted entirely too long.
I meant to go back and count how many times they sang that part.
It's
how many
too
times
long.
they said hey, Bim's on the way in that one scene?
At least 50 times.
But I like to say they got the idea of what the 80s and sort of, I guess, the 90s music would be with a lot of call and return, like, say something and the crowd says the next part.
Yeah. Like Moni.
Yeah.
Your favorite song. Oh man. Yeah, I wish we had gotten this future in a way. The snazzy dressing, the dances,
but without the fascism, right?
Well, we don't want fascism. That's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But we also could have had those cool drinking glasses, the BIM drinking glasses.
True.
That take you a year to drink.
Yeah, Dan, little spoiler. You can go to your local Michael's or crafts place and buy those.
And just buy those. it'll accentuate my BIM cosplay.
Yeah, that was like funny thing. I was thinking about this the whole time. My for Thanksgiving, my mom's boyfriend couldn't find anything but the gravy in, so he grabbed the vase he had under the sink and put the gravy in the vase.
Because harder.
Yeah, I said to him, I was like, couldn't just get it out of the pot? Like it had to be transported into something else. So yeah, if there's, I wish I saw. I think he might still have the photo, but he likes to take a photo when he does the spread, for Thanksgiving, and you just see in the middle of the spread this just tall vase full of gravy, and that's what I was reminded of throughout this entire movie every time they filled that up.
All right, yeah, the apple. What a weird one.
Yep.
Indeed.
I think we've said all we could about this one. It's a wild one, so we're gonna take it from here and move on. Once again, as we mentioned, August movie of the month poll coming out next week. Be on the lookout for that on TCTAM Pod. Check us out on our socials, TCTAM Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and on TikTok at They Call This a Movie. We'll be back next week, but in the meantime, we're going to get out of here. The director of The Apple is Manahem Golan. So, for Dan Aquino and Mark Myers, this is Anthony Vecchio telling Manahem Golan, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Call This a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TCTAM Pod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Call This a Movie.